Hey, Mike, never rat on your friends and always keep your mouth shut.
Hey, you got it, whatever you want, man, whatever you want.
All
Hey,
right, thanks,
how you?
thanks everybody. We're going. We're keeping our mouth shut.
Yeah,
No, no, no.
yeah,
We got a show for you here.
yeah. Not keeping our mouth shut about this week. This is this whole month. We have gone over through and covered a certain little thing that officially ended yesterday. But this is the one that I picked. This is
Mm-hmm.
Mike and Thomas joins me.
Yep.
This is our main show, the first last nerdum. And we just do this thing. And tell us about what we were doing this past month with in regards to this particular movie.
Yeah, we had a tour of Italy where we kind of much like Olive Garden, we hand selected various things from where Olive Garden picked the various cuisines of Italy and put them on a platter for us. We took a few different genres of movies that Italians are known for, and kind of spotlighted them. We first looked at our spaghetti western with the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yes, we did.
We've That was one of the big courses. And then we looked at Italian horror with The House by the Cemetery, which had kind of mixed results. And then we had our Giallo, very specific to Italy, there at that genre, which is mix of thriller, mystery plus kind of slasher angle to it, which we looked at Tenebrae. And now we finish off with the dessert, which is our American mafia gangster, American Italian movie, Goodfellas. And
Yeah.
then this kind of worked out pretty well for us. This whole kind of thing. So we're thinking about maybe doing it again sometime. Plus, I was thinking we might do like a tour of Japan, a tour of different countries that are known for various different genres.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? I wholeheartedly support that. And as a matter of fact, just wanted to kind of mention our last week's episode of Tenebrae. I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna probably end up rewatching that
Oh yeah.
this coming weekend when I have a little bit more downtime because I
Mm-hmm.
really enjoyed it, and I kind of want to watch it with fresh eyes now that I have a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more appreciation for it. Especially that's probably number two of the Dario Argento things, and we're slowly making our way through Famous, this and that. But yeah, I think we should definitely hold this every so often, like maybe where we take a host country as the theme and
Mm-hmm.
kind of figure out famous very
Mm-hmm.
very famous cross cultural movies
Mm-hmm.
that either have like
Yeah.
a cult following or just are a good recommend that might be
Mm-hmm.
off the beaten path maybe a little bit. Probably for
Mm-hmm.
Japan would be interesting because there's a lot there that we could draw
Yeah.
from.
Yeah, I
There's a
was
lot because
thinking. Yeah, I was thinking do like a horror movie, do a science fiction movie, do a gangster movie because they got
sure.
Yakuza movies, and maybe do an anime, which is yeah, they're known for
Abs-
an anime movie. So yeah,
yeah,
that would that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, and this is all your go for the week, and then I picked out this one this week that we're
Yep.
about ready to hop into. But and that of course is if I share the screen here and I do us upright. Yeah, there we go. I like to have.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. All right, Tom's on the top there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so we are the first last nerdum. Real quick, just want to kind
Mm-hmm.
of do a little self plug here and
Mm-hmm.
shill.
Mm-hmm.
If you we would love to hear back from you. That's number one. I would really love to hear back from our community. That is the silent majority. But we picked up a couple subscribers in the last few
Yeah,
weeks, so we're
we
doing
sure did.
something.
We hit the magic number of 40.
Yeah, it
So yeah.
we're growing all the time. Hopefully, our exposition and our online countenance gets better over time. I think it definitely kind of commented that in the offline with you that it kind of felt a little bit more natural, a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
as we ease into it. But I just want to again just want to kind of plug our channel. We have a ever growing back catalog. That's the one thing I'm most proud of is that back catalog as it grows ever larger, video by video. And this week is no different. We're kind of jumping over genres here a little bit, but that's okay
Mm-hmm.
because there is a at the heart of everything. If you get to the edges of the fans, there's going to be some nerds that love it, or
Yeah.
nerds that are particular to it. And this is
Mm-hmm.
no stranger to
Mm-hmm.
having nerds, big
Mm-hmm.
fans of it.
Yeah.
But and what
Yeah.
is that
Mm-hmm. And
movie?
yeah.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
that's yeah. We yeah. Unless you stumbled onto us blind and clicked on us, our movie this week is Goodfellas, the American gangster movie. It's and then just to speak on the nerd side of things, I was there's a content creator I like watching who's in New Jersey, and he was talking about evidently, I guess, on the in Atlantic City every year they do a big gangster convention where they invite like various people from various movie gangsters. Like I think Lorraine Bracco, who's in this movie, is Karen.
Mm-hmm.
She's famously known as the psychiatrist in Sopranos.
Yep.
She was at the that convention, and they actually replicated her office from Sopranos, and you got to sit down in the chair that Tony Soprano sat down on, and got to take a picture with her,
That's
and
fun.
which sounds pretty cool. To be if I'm being honest, but yeah, it's so. And so he nerded out that way, and there was a lot of other different people from Sopranos, and he got autographs and various things. So yeah, people do tend to nerd out about the American gangster movies. So yeah, um, but yeah, it's I think this is a movie very familiar to me and you. I think we've
Mm-hmm.
seen it several times previously.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and I just want to kind of give a little color to it. This was written based off a true story from Nick Pileggi. I believe
Mm-hmm.
butcher that. Yeah, Pileggi.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote the famous book Wise Guy, and it was based on his life.
No,
Like
no, on Henry
or
Hill's
excuse
life.
me. No, excuse me. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
he interviewed this other guy. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, Henry Hill.
Yeah.
Which
It was based on
well,
his life
yeah.
and on the come up, and how he regards that. And I've heard, I definitely have around the time. This is a few years back when the newer Sopranos movie was going to come out.
Hmm.
And there was a little bit renewed interest with that. And like a year out, I'm sure HBO, I'm sure they talked to some of their stars from The Sopranos because nobody was really doing anything major. So they were kind of, just doing this on the off time. But a couple of the famous actors from there, they started doing like a podcast, which is cool. And sometimes a little goes a long way. But in any case, there's other YouTubers that their algorithm recommended to me during that time. That one was like a real wise guy. How he came up, Michael something. I can't think of his last name, but it'll be in the grab bag. That'll be one of my YouTube recommendations. So catch that later for later in the week for a grab bag.
Hmm.
But in any case, yeah. So this is definitely not new to you or me. And I guess what is your what is your take? What is your opinion generally of mobster movies? This kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoy them. They're kind of a wouldn't say a guilty pleasure, but they're a pleasure to watch. You feel you kind of question morality when you're watching it. So
Oh
why
yeah.
why am I enjoying this? Am I enjoying the life of crime? But it's you're enjoying it vicariously, much like you do whenever you watch a horror movie or various things with bad people in it. It's not like you're a bad person yourself. So, but yeah, it's also co-written and directed by Martin Scorsese, who's known for his gangster movies. Before he did this movie, he had kind of swore off gangster movies. He wasn't going to do anymore, and but this book came along, and gosh darn it, he just had to make it. So so yeah, he told Pileggi that yeah, this movie I have to make, and it seems like a very natural fit. Seems like everything kind of fell into place with this movie. The when they were getting ready to do it, they spent a few weeks just kind of playing it out and doing just just running lines to each other and kind of
Mm.
just kind of what's the word when you're improving. They did a lot of improving as far as the lines and different scenarios and the whole thing with the famous thing where am I funny? Do I amuse you? The whole
Yep,
Pesci
Joe
thing.
Pesci.
That
Yep.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Pesci brought that to the table because that was a experience he had once as a. I think he said he was a waiter and he. Just to kind of fit in, this mobster guy was telling a joke, and he told him he was funny, and much like the movie, it didn't play out very well for him.
Right.
But yeah, so they did do that, and as they were improving and stuff, um, Martin Scorsese was taping all of that and then typing it up and kind of
Oh
fixing it
wow.
for dialogue. So yeah, so that whole thing was all improv, and they kind of kept it out of the script so that when Pesci and Leota actually did it, uh, on when they were filming, the all the people around them was a kind of a natural reaction to the whole thing because they didn't know what was going on when that happened. They weren't privy to the script, so it's all the surprise during it. It's like, oh, what's going on? That was all genuine, which it seems like that they kind of played around with that. Martin Scorsese, even though he was kind of a veteran director at this point,
Mm-hmm.
really played with filmmaking with this movie. There was a lot of kind of independent movie style filmmaking. He wasn't doing like a traditional movie. He was doing a lot of freeze frames. He was
Mm.
with the whole narrating it was unusual for a Hollywood movie. Even at one point Henry Hill breaks the fourth wall
Yep.
when he's on the in the courtroom. He was really playing fast and loose with what uh, is known to be like a traditional movie, and so in that works to the benefit of this movie because you're making a movie about rule breakers. You might as well break the the rules of filmmaking while you do it. Kind of fit in with what was going on there.
Yeah, he made it to be like a very fast paced, very frenetic type feel with montages and jump cuts and you really do naturally through his eyes kind of as the story unfolds like you're with him kind of riding this kind of and in years later it set up a kind of a similar type approach for like the Sopranos. So
Mm-hmm.
you are basically kind of given this invisible eye and sometimes you'll hop from character to character depending upon
Mm-hmm.
what goes wrong. And this is, this is one of my favorites. Obviously, I picked it, but it could have been The
Mm-hmm.
Godfather. But I can't help but think that, and The Godfather is great too. But it's and that kind of sets in a different era, and it deserves its own. It probably deserves its own show in its own right. Not if we could even
Right.
do any kind of justice to it as a recommendation, let alone never mind review. But yeah, I really enjoy that. I know what you're saying. I enjoy that kind of cheeky in and out, like,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's always like the thing. But this has everything that a gangster mobster movie would have. You see what happens when one of these guys loses control. And gets really, really
Mm-hmm.
angry. That happens a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and usually
Mm-hmm.
somebody ends up dead.
Yeah.
Uh, and then you get to see them being scattered all over the tri-state area with with whatever
Mm-hmm.
the method
Yeah.
that they have. Yeah,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I agree. It's not like a guilty pleasure, but it is. There is this fascination with this the this kind of thing. It's up there with cowboys and Indians and
Mm-hmm.
the sci-fi as well.
Yeah.
America's known for it's definitely it stands on its own, almost in its own
Yeah.
kind of subgenre, really.
Right. Yeah, and it's very much emboldens the idea of the anti-hero, which is something newer, because they're the sense of right and wrong in filmmaking. There wasn't. I didn't research this, but I don't know when the first anti-hero came along. I guess maybe Capone. They did, or Scarface. I guess the original Scarface could be kind of put in that. But
Yeah,
the
you could also do Taxi 2, which Robert
uh
De Niro was into.
taxi
That
driver.
character is,
Yeah.
yeah, very
Mm-hmm.
very troubled, kind of
Mm-hmm.
psychic or
Mm-hmm.
psychotic.
Yeah.
Anyway, but go on.
Yeah,
So,
right. And for the most part, the older movies, you always have to show, the downside to it. Being a villain or a gangster or whatnot. You have to show the bad side so that you won't encourage people to do that. And it seems like like early older movies kind of focus on the bad stuff because just trying to say, hey, you don't want to do that. Kind of your moral tell, so to speak. Whereas this movie does show the bad side of things, but it also shows you the good side. Why do you want to be a gangster? This definitely shows you the fun side and the intoxication um, aspect of the whole atmosphere of it. There's a classic scene towards the beginning of it where Henry Hill is taking his date Karen through the back of a restaurant to get to the he's kind of taking the back way and he's saying
right.
hey to all of his pals and everybody knows his name like he's a celebrity. And the cool thing about it was I was reading that they didn't actually have the access to the front of the store or the restaurant to film the front, so everybody had to actually go through the back to get to the filming. And so Martin Scorsese took that as a opportunity to kind of define the character as he came in. And in the you know that's the beautiful art of a true director in that they could take a limitation and make it a positive. The whole that
Didn't
you
stop
couldn't
him at all.
picture. Yeah, you couldn't picture that movie without that scene. That's
Right.
sort of like a pivotal scene in there to kind of show off, who Henry Hill is at that point in time.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny too because you kind of see this. I guess this became more of a thing from this movie, really. Like again, I could pivot to The Sopranos, like where you're having such an intimate look at the family part of this. The wife's.
Mm-hmm.
What does the wife see? What is the expectation there? Because that's not always shown. It's kind of just assumed from earlier mobster movies. Of course, referring back to a couple decades before this one was Goodfellas, or excuse me, Godfather, obviously, famously.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this was like probably when would you say was Robert De Niro's reign of just where everything he ever did just was just aside from a couple off-key comedies that
Yeah.
kind of worked and some that landed very well like Meet the Parents,
Yeah.
but that was years later. But would
Yeah.
you say like this was kind of like 80s 90s, this was like
Yeah.
this was
Late late
prime.
late '70s. Yeah. During the '80s, and then this is sure like mid '90s. So yeah, that I guess that 20-year period between late '70s to early to mid '90s. That's when where De Niro was king, and he anything he was in you had to go see. But yeah, it's and then after he made his serious movies, I think after Casino, I forget when he started making comedies, but yeah, that's when you know, he's kind of relaxed a little bit. I saw Heat there. That was another classic from him.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh God, that's well, we'll probably have to do that on another kind of show for action movies or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
You gotta
Yeah.
find something.
Yeah.
Or, or
And
or ones that are really pivotal to like I remember him in Ronin. I mean
mhm,
that one really wasn't widely whatever, but Heat definitely was. That
mhm,
always comes up. Casino. He
mhm,
kind of he but unlike other actors who would have gotten pigeonholed in a role, he that didn't happen to him, that because
Yeah.
that he's Robert De Niro. But him and Ray Liotta, of course. Ray Liotta sadly is no longer with us, which
Mhm.
sucks. But he was always great. And this is probably he had a
It's
different
one of
arc
yeah.
than De Niro, but he was still in his own right.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
definitely.
And he really wanted to do this role. He the studio kind of wanted it a more known actor. I know they had kind of they were thinking about Alec Baldwin, Val Kilmer, Tom Cruise for this role. But yeah, it's like Ray Liotta really wanted this role, and I think when I was reading about this, that he tried to talk to Martin Scorsese during Cannes Film Festival,
Mm,
and at that time, uh, Martin Scorsese had done the Last Temptation of Christ, and there was all these death threats against him for that movie. So
holy cow!
he had a bunch of bodyguards around him. So they weren't letting Ray Liotta uh, through to talk to Martin Scorsese, and Martin said that he watched Ray during all of that, and he kind of kept his cool and just kind of waited there, and took his time, and and he knew that instead of blowing up and or making a scene or whatnot, that wouldn't have been the Harry Hill character. He would have been kind of reserved and kind of waited there, and did exactly what Ray Liotta would have had done in that situation. So he kind of knew that that's the guy that he kind of wanted for the role. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
one of the
I
reasons why
wanted
he
to
eventually got it.
yeah, I wanted to give a shout out to Cocaine Bear. That's one I saw this year. It was so bad it's good. He was in that, which was fun.
Hmm.
And he was in several others, but he
Yeah.
always fun to watch, and he does have a certain level of serious of I don't want to say what the thing you said
Hmm.
intensity, but
Yeah.
that is exactly him.
Right. Yeah.
And he
And
could play so many different kind of characters
uh-huh.
too.
And he was really really into the role. It's in some of the things I read, he would call Henry Hill 3 or 4 times a day while they were filming to ask him about what he would do and how he would do a certain scene or different things. And he if you actually have seen interviews with Henry Hill in real life, um, Ray Liotta uh, imitates his laugh just perfectly. He's got the Henry Hill's laugh is in Goodfellas. That's how
I
he
did not.
does laugh.
I did not. Yeah, I was just I was looking at my notes, and this basically transpires over Henry Hill's life,
Mm-hmm.
in the '60s, '70s, and and onward up until
Yeah,
he's
it ends
put
in
away.
1980. Yeah,
Right, right.
when he
Yeah,
gets caught.
yep. And it just it gives an unflinching look at at how his
Yeah.
everyday was.
Yeah,
It was
the rise and fall. Yeah, and I was talking
crazy.
about how this movie does show you the intoxicating nature of the crime life, the mafia life, but also shows you the downside, and it made me think of while I was watching it, kind of remind me of the structure of say the movie Train Spotting, which is about heroin addicts in Scotland, and the, that movie shows you the allure and the joys of heroin, but also shows you the dramatic and the hardships of doing that hard drug. And this movie kind of shows you the highs of being a gangster, but also shows you the dark, evil lows of being it as well. Now this is from Henry Hill's perspective, and it's from interviews from Henry. But how much is this is real? That's one of the things. When I was watching this movie, yeah, I've enjoyed it several times in the past, and it's been a few years since I've seen it last. But this time I went with a critical eye, since I knew we were going to be talking about it, and we were going to probably dig in a little deeper than what I would normally do on a watch of a movie. So I was really kind of digging into it and looking at it from the perspective of what Henry Hill was really like, and to be honest, like all of these characters, they're all very charismatic people, and you have a joyful time just watching them interact. And even when they're evil, it's enjoyable to watch. But these people are truly scummy people,
Yet
and
they are not good people.
mhm,
And that's kind of like you're kind of thrust in this awkward, weird, amoral kind of zone of like these guys
mhm.
have families and they love their families
Yeah.
in a way,
Mhm.
but that love is not enough to prevent them from I don't know, flying off the
Mhm.
handle and going to town on some poor schmuck who might
Right.
have if these guys have a bad day, someone's gonna have a broken kneecap.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course, that's a little bit gross exaggeration, but not
Mhm.
really. I mean, you just didn't
Yeah.
know with these guys if you
Well,
were ever around them.
right. And then there's that dichotomy of you know they would Henry Hill went along with what everything that happened. They killed snitches. He was completely fine with that. And in fact, later on in real life, he in this movie they don't show Henry Hill killing anybody. He seems to be more of an observer to everything. He kind of stays away. He helps bury the bodies, but he's not real active in the
Right.
killing. He's more of a he's much like us as the observer. Observer. We're observing it through his eyes, but in reality, I'm sure he got his hands dirty, and in real life interviews after the movie came out, he did claim that he did kill 3 people. And they were all rats in his opinion. So it's interesting that, but when it came time to kill him because he was potentially a rat, he became one and kind of took the easy way out. A lot of these guys were going to be killed and kind of knew it and kind of accepted their fate because they weren't going to, you know, as our tenant that we began with, don't be a rat, don't turn on your friends,
Right.
and that's exactly what he did in the end. So he lived by the code, but he wasn't going to die by the
Yeah.
code.
Well, and of course, famously, he became an FBI informant
Yeah. Hmm.
to make his way out, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, and the fact is, he's alive, and he actually made a cameo in the movie. I didn't know this at the time, but like, I just makes me want to go find that scene. But I have my notes that he was in a scene where Tommy DeVito is introduced to Billy Batts. Hill is seen sitting at a table in the background of the restaurant, which is interesting. So it's like you kind of go back and see. This is where it would be killer to have the 4K physical media Blu-ray of it than streaming. To be honest, because
although
then you could
although
really dial in on the frame by frame.
I will say that from my fellow YouTube pals, Film at Midnight, and I think or Film at Home and Serial at Midnight. I think they both said that the 4K transfer of Goodfellas is very bad. You don't want to get
Oh,
that.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So
disappointing.
so
Yeah,
yeah. Hmm.
that all goes to show they're not all made equal.
Mm-mm.
Sometimes just a cash grab. That's exactly what that sounds like. That
Yeah,
shouldn't
yeah.
happen.
So yeah, they should do go back and one of the smaller boutique 4K companies should go through and maybe do a better transfer. This movie obviously deserves it. But yeah, that's another reason why you should, if you're interested in a 4K of a movie, to maybe seek out one of those guys for their reviews because they're pretty honest with their opinions on whether or not it's worth the upgrade from Blu-ray to 4K, because that
Hmm.
you do have to give it some love and care whenever you do a transfer, and getting the colors right and the crispness right. And evidently, I believe the 4K on this, like I said, I don't think they did much to upscale it to 4K from the Blu-ray. So I think they basically said if you have the Blu-ray, be happy because that's you don't need to upgrade it to the 4K. But yeah, I also know Henry Hill through the Howard Stern show. I don't know if you realize this, but he was a frequent guest on Howard Stern.
You know what? I was big into Howard Stern around my late teen years. Like when I could,
Hmm.
find some private time to go see that, because it would, if you had cable, famously, you could catch edited versions of the Howard Stern show, like on
Hmm.
E, I think.
Hmm.
That was back in the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
I always thought those some were more entertaining than others, obviously, when you're a young
Hmm.
adolescent, or late stage teenager, whatever you want
Right.
to call it. Definitely it's definitely marketed to a certain audience, and you or I
Hmm.
are definitely in that, or were in that audience for sure. But no, I don't recall seeing him in there.
Hmm.
But it
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me because all these guys are like connected in like weird ways, and
Yeah.
that's kind of another
Yeah.
layer of the movie too, of like
Yeah.
how so and so got in, and how he kind of started running
Hmm.
little gopher jobs for this and that,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then he kind of worked his way up, and da 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 da. That's kind of how these all these guys came up.
Yeah. So yeah, and I kind of remembered him from the Howard Stern show, and then
Interesting.
today the my curiosity got the best of me, and I looked on YouTube and found a few. There was a few clips of him on the Stern show that I'd seen previously when they first aired, but then like you said that he had a show on E where they would curate what he would do on air and do it in like a little half hour segment every night during the week. But yeah, he there's like an interview with him in 2002 from the Stern Show. Yeah, that one right there, the drunk 2002 episode, hour long. It was yeah, it was enjoyable to watch. Yeah, he come in with a Heineken and was wanting a cocktail. But yeah, during that he did talk about again about killing three people. He claimed that he killed someone for Polly, which was the crime boss in real life and in the movie. He said that he killed his first kill was in when he was 16, and the other two were when he was 22. The first two he killed with a gun, and the last one he did with an ice pick. Now, whether or not this is true or not, now during this interview that he was doing with Howard Stern, this guy Paulie called in who claims he was in the mafia at the time, and yeah, he said that Henry Hill, he was just a gopher. He would just run things for Polly, and that he was never truly a gangster. He was like a hanger on and whatnot, and that he didn't kill anybody. He was just a loser that kind of promoted himself as something big. Now, obviously, I believe that the truth maybe lies somewhere in between. Obviously, Henry
Sure.
Hill's going to make himself look the best way he can, uh, through the book and through the movie, and obviously, this Polly guy that called in, which isn't the Polly that was arrested, the big crime boss. This is a different Polly. Polly calls in. He quote unquote is still with the mafia, so he's going to downplay this rat, this snitch, his role in the mafia. He's going to make him look as bad as he can. So yeah, that like I said, the truth's probably somewhere in between. But yeah, so I watched this interview, which was fun to watch, and then there was a couple of other videos that they showed. One where they're questioning whether or not uh, Henry Hill's bisexual, maybe something went on in the prison, either consensual or non-consensual as
Oh
far as
God.
that.
Oh God.
But but yeah,
Right. It's got
um,
everything, right?
yeah, and there's a guy that called in that said that there was a threesome with Henry Hill and him and this other girl, and Henry ended up maybe doing something with him, which Henry denied. So who knows?
Not
He
touching
was
that one.
he was a gangster. He was doing lots
Right.
of drugs. Who knows what was going on?
Well,
But
obviously these guys did things that they don't want to be talking about in church on
mhm,
Sunday, so to speak,
right,
or
right.
synagogue, depending upon your your you're into this world. It's just crazy how this, again, it's a great story. Like I also kind of like watched it again with kind of like just more open eyes, I guess.
Mhm.
And I noticed some things. I don't really have anything too much to say other than, like did some facts here, like for Easter egg type stuff. And there's all kinds. A lot of it, like what I've seen, is reinforces what we already talked about, which was, Martin Scorsese is not afraid to improvise on the fly, and neither are any of these guys either. And that kind of makes for a really, really interesting and awesome film work and acting,
Mhm.
the whole thing. But yeah, Karen Hill,
Mhm.
Lauren Braca is, Lorraine Braca, Bracco. Jesus
Mhm.
Christ, I can't talk. Um, she she is. It's funny how a lot of these guys, I think there's a lot of some of the actors who ended up being in, I should always play it, autoplay it. A lot of these, there's like an overlap. Like some of the people that you see that
Mhm.
are super minor characters that you only see for a second or two go on to be part of the Sopranos,
Yeah,
and some of the more
yeah. From
major
what I
ones
read,
too.
it was like 20 some odd people that were in this movie are also in Sopranos.
Yep,
Um,
yep, yes.
but
You get to that point really quick with this, because
yeah,
it's, there's only so many folks that can pull off roles like this.
yeah, yeah. No, Lorraine Bracco. Yeah, she's great in it, and she also said that she kind of went in with it, going full force. She said that she wanted her role to be kind of really out there, and you couldn't take your eyes away from the performance. She tried for that because she knew that she's the woman of the story, and the tendency is maybe to kind of push her in the background, and if something needs to be cut, they'll probably cut her portion of the movie. So she wanted to make it so engaging that they were less likely to do that. And I think she did a good job. She's one of the standout. And also, it's another thing that kind of broke the narrative of it that, Henry Hill was telling the story, but at one point, a couple of points during the movie, she takes over the narration, and she starts telling her side of things as well, which
Right, she does narrate.
yeah.
That's right.
hmm which I
Yeah,
think
like they trade.
they could have done a little bit more with that, and kind of played with it a little bit more. But I know it's to watch this movie now, it's hard to throw yourself back in 1994, whenever it was made and came out. That they were really kind of cutting edge. They were doing things that aren't weren't weren't normal in films at that time. So that but now it's all there in the mix of things, and you don't really see it as that cutting edge movie that it was at the time. You just see it as a good movie. But yeah, we kind of overlook sometimes that these movies are much like Pulp Fiction at the time. That was like a
Oh
mind
yeah,
blowing experience with how it was cut together and paced and everything. Same with this movie.
yeah.
Another thing,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
go ahead.
on that,
hmm
I always love to bring up Quentin Tarantino because he is such a cultural touchstone for our generation. For whether you like him or hate him, he,
hmm
in his opinion, this is one of the greatest films ever made. And I
hmm
tend to agree. I don't think it's the best thing ever, but I definitely can see where he's coming from, because you're right. This is real life Pulp Fiction that he has made numerous movies or alterations of them. Depending upon the era it's set in,
hmm
he's famous for that.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing that both him and Martin Scorsese are very much known for is the music. And this doesn't have a traditional score. This is all
No,
music of the time period that takes place. And
Rolling
from what
Stones.
what I read is that Martin Scorsese had picked all the music for it 3 years before making this movie.
Wow.
So he had all the music planned out, and it shows. I mean, the music's perfect for each scene, and there's not one song where I'm like, oh, that just doesn't work. You know,
Mm-mm.
it all works and all flows and this continuous thing. And then one of the things, and there's like the um, you know, a happy accident happens right at the end when the credits roll. They were going to play "My Way" by Frank Sinatra, and Sinatra at the time said, "No, no, you don't get that song from
Oh
me."
wow,
So they put in Sid Vicious from the Sex Pistols singing "My Way,"
that's
and
funny.
that whole punk version of that song just works beautifully for me. I think that's the fact that Frank didn't allow him to use it was kind of a gift to them by putting in the Sex Pistols "My Way" in there at the end, because it's very much a kind of a punk movie to begin with, and yeah, it just fits for me.
That's funny. Yeah, the Rolling Stones with "Give Me Shelter" and
uh-huh.
"Monkey Man," or
Monkey Man,
yeah,
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 yep.
all good. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
funny. That just goes to show you kind of the a good movie has a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
And they go, I'm gonna have to re-listen to that. My brain is going blank on it for some reason, but like of course that bound to happen. Uh, yeah, I was gonna say, what was your and of course, the other side of this coin that kind of like where all these old things kind of get a new lease on life. Because at some point somebody's going to be like, "What is that from?" Because at some point it's gonna evolve to like what we use as memes. Famously, like there's several memes from this that have made their way into the internet, social media realm, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
very famously, this one has several of those. It's
Mm-hmm.
just crazy to me how some of this goes out, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and there's also kind of the famous prison scene with him, and he's they're making their Sunday dinner or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where
No,
they
that's Sorvino who plays Polly. He was actually going to quit right before filming because he didn't. He knew he could walk and talk like a mob boss, but he didn't know if he had that coldness in him to portray that aspect of a gangster. And he called his agent and told him, "No, I can't do it. I'm calling it off." And the guy, his agent said, "No, just wait a day. Think over it overnight, and then decide in the morning whether or not." And he said that he kind of looked at himself in the mirror, and that cold stare that he was giving himself in the mirror for not taking the movie, he was like, "Okay, that's the mob boss." And
right
he's
on.
like, "Okay, yeah, I can do it." So yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting.
yeah, and this also has one of the favorite things that American moviegoers like to see, are in any good crime genre movie, the a heist. We love
Mm-hmm.
our heist movies. I know I do for sure. I know you do probably as
Mm-hmm.
well. But this Henry Hill is famously known to be have executed on the Lufthansa heist, which is featured in
Yep.
this movie. It's also like one that I've kind of gone back and been a nerd. Like when I got into more of a heist thing like several years ago, like I kind of like went through and found a couple YouTube channels like where they would cover the inner details of how something happened or how we know it to happen with a little bit of kind of narrative guessing.
Mm-hmm.
But the famous one, this one I've watched a few videos on. It's
Mm-hmm.
just interesting, and they
Yep.
famously have not been able to recover all the money from that,
Mm-hmm.
which is no
Yeah.
surprise.
Which
But
yeah, but fun fact, I've pulled off a few heists in GTA 5.
yeah,
Just so you know.
I have
So
too.
I'm familiar with heist, but no.
Red Dead
Now
2 as well.
the funny thing is that that interview he did on Howard Stern in 2002, he actually, and he's 59 there. He looks so much older. It kind of just shows you
No kidding.
what 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 the life will do to you. And he died at, I think, 69, and he looked like in his late 70s or early 80s. But yeah, he during the interview he kept saying that he was in New York and he was going to go dig up a shoebox in Jersey for some of that heist money. He said he was going to dig up a couple of million.
Right,
He
right.
said kind of the general area that where he was going to go to dig it up, and I think Robin Quivers is like, you know how many people's out there digging right now trying to look for that money?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's
Which is
funny. That's
probably
funny.
true.
Oh,
But yeah.
I don't doubt it. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
mhm.
of course, I just wanted to put out this book here too. Go ahead, go ahead.
No, yeah. I was just gonna say that. Yeah, during those interviews with him on Howard Stern, you can see how charismatic he is in himself, and I'm sure the whole Italian mafia kind of thing. They're all like bigger than life people, and one of the things that works so well for me. A lot of autobiographical movies do not work for me. Like say a lot of them that maybe cover the life of a musician or an
Mm,
actor or anything is that they tend to cover so much of a big time span that it's like you're watching cliff notes. Like okay, this is them during the 70s. Okay, this is them during the 80s. It's sort of like a kind of rush to the finish line kind of feel to me, like that you never really get into the nitty gritty. But and also if it's a uh, autobiographical movie, a lot of times they're working in conjunction with the person
right,
or a music group, so you're not going to get into the real bad stuff. It's going to be more of a lighter movie.
right.
Where this movie doesn't suffer through that. They kind of focus on key moments throughout the thing, and even though those scenes are short and oftentimes are rushed through, that that kind of adds to the fast pacedness of being a mafia person. That going through one hyper real situation to another, just kind of in your mind, even though we don't know what being a mafia guy is like, that just kind of feeds that understanding. And also they obviously have to get into the dark aspects of things because that's what this story is about. So that's why this particular thing works so well, and why Sopranos works even better, because they could take those moments and expand them to a whole season and dig into it, because there's so many things that they left on the table that they could have gone into the movie, but they just didn't have time. Like there's like famously he was involved in a Boston basketball scam thing where where they were going to pay off players to throw a game or something. That wasn't talked about in the movie. But yeah, there's so much more that they could have went into, but they did a good job of just telling the story that they needed to tell. It was more about like that friendship and the destruction that friendship ends up being.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're right about that. Yeah, and of course Sopranos is a television series that some
Hmm.
consider one of the greatest masterpieces of all time. Just like this movie is considered a masterpiece in its own right. But yeah, you take that slice of life type aspect and really drill down into it. I kind of understand what you're saying about the autobiography type films and
Hmm.
or the docu series kind of
Hmm.
historical. Maybe there's a little bit more fictionalized. Like
Hmm.
there's a few out there. Like I'm trying to think of one, but in any case,
Hmm.
if they're done well, or they kind of focus on one main aspect and they kind of their life is kind of incidental to that. Sometimes
Hmm.
they can get away with that if they skate around a little bit. They got to be really good
Hmm.
though. But yeah, I hear what you're saying
Hmm.
about that particular aspect. Yeah, some work and some don't, but I do like that genre in general. That like sometimes if you have like some more indie type films or like films
Hmm.
off the beaten path,
Yeah.
that are maybe not
Yeah.
or they're not even cult classics per se, or there's not really a following around them, but they're good enough to enjoy. You know,
Yeah.
some of them might be maybe C list movies, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I think I like if you focus on one, one element of their life, like a major an event. A lot of times that's more interesting to me instead of a
right,
like I said, a Cliff Notes thing where it just kind of
right,
ticks off the boxes. Okay, well we got to show this, we got to show that, we got to show this. Yeah,
right. Like Ford
and
versus Ferrari or
mhm,
Beautiful Mind. That comes to
mhm,
mind, like with Russell
yeah,
Crowe, and that he portrayed that particular character. That
yeah,
real life got
yeah,
gentleman. There's a few more. There's that one where the one guy, the automotive guy, I think Greg Kinnear plays him. He basically invented the windshield wipers or something like that, and then Ford
mhm,
was like, "Well, come on in and show us how that works." And then they
mhm,
basically ripped it wholesale off of him, and he spent the better part of his life.
yeah.
And his sons picked up the fight too later on to
Mhm.
get recompense of some kind. But
Yeah,
it's a crazy
yeah.
story too. But
I know,
yeah, but
and
this has a natural arc, but this one is a lot more
mhm.
bumpy than you're.
Yeah.
And it's funny how he rose again too, post crime. You know, which is invites that criticism of, well, you're just, you didn't really do anything. You just ended up being the guy, the only guy, the last man standing that's
Mhm.
free
Yeah,
or somewhat
yeah,
free.
right. And yeah, and as this clip from Howard Stern shows, he still had struggles with substance abuse as far as alcohol, at
Right,
least. And yeah,
right on.
and Gary Delabate during this this clip, he said, "You never know which Henry you're gonna get. You're either gonna get
Ah, that's funny.
the nice, kind Henry that's sober, or you're getting the wild man that's drunk and is carrying
Right,
on."
showman, yeah, the
Yeah,
entertainer type
yeah,
dude
yeah.
that comes out.
So yeah, if you have time to watch this in our kind of interest in Henry Hill, I definitely recommend that. And there's a clip of Henry Hill passed away in 2012, and Howard Stern did like a little eulogy, kind of talking about him, and that's on YouTube as well. Um, but yeah, and then there's a few others that I watched that yeah that uh, where he was on the Stern Show. I think in 2012, a little bit before he died, and he uh, he was sober during the his interview there, but then afterwards he went to a restaurant and just got blank faced drunk, and
Oh wow.
the film crew, the Howard Stern film crew, had followed him, and he couldn't even, he was so drunk he couldn't even talk straight, and yeah, that was kind of interesting to watch that as well. Just how quickly he could get drunk from, within the hour, he could
Oh
just get
God.
to the point where he couldn't walk and couldn't talk, and yeah, and it's interesting that for being famously hated by the mafia and him being a rat, that they never bumped him off. I mean, he went out of came out of
Witness
the
protection.
witness protection either before or after the movie came out, and remained out of it from then on. And he came up with a website. I think it's Henry Hill Movies. I think it's even active today, even after he's passed away. I know it was active a few years ago. I forgot to check and see if it's still active, where he was selling like shirts and various things
That's
online.
funny. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to find it here on the fly, but I'll if I find it, I'll put it in
Yeah,
the description down below with
and
all these other
yeah,
links here that so you can enjoy this the secondary, layer of coolness with this dude, who lived a very prolific life,
hmm
and probably cracked a skull or two.
uh-huh. Yeah,
And
yeah. And this time through, I got a kind of a richer sense of the characters, as opposed to just watching it, kind of just enjoying it as a movie. Yeah, I kind of zoomed in and kind of focused in on him as who such as a real person, like who was this person as a person, and then if you kind of dig a little bit below the surface of the movie, because you could leave the movie surface level and just enjoy it as a wonderful ride. But yeah, he's really a dark and scumbag kind of person. You know, he's very abusive to his wife. He was very he had several mistresses. He stood by while people like Spider, who all he did was maybe talk back to Tommy, gets shot and killed, and he didn't do anything about it. He didn't say anything. He went along with it. So yeah, even if you take everything in the movie as gospel and as if as truth, you can't really look at him as a good guy in this movie.
No.
It's fun to watch him, and it would be probably fun to have a conversation with him. But yeah, you wouldn't want to have him as a buddy,
Not a fixture in your life at all. That's for sure. Like nothing good would come from that pairing. But yeah, of course he was a good fella. But
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then another fun fact: when he was doing their talking about putting him in the witness protection program, that federal agent that was interviewing him was the actual guy that talked to him from that scene.
Really, that's cool.
Yeah, because they went to him to talk to him about making the movie, and I guess maybe ask him about it and stuff. And he made a joke while they were kind of talking to him. They said, "Hey, if you have a hard time finding the guy to play me, I'm available to play me." And the writer Nicholas Paglia was there at the time, and he called him up later. He's like, "Hey, were you being serious?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, maybe we could do something with you." And so yeah, he's the actual DA, the federal agent, and he said that the thing you don't see in that scene is the fact that outside were two of his mistresses that he was wanting to get put into witness protection as well, along with him. So.
That's funny. That's fun.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I can't imagine why his wife Karen divorced him not too long after they went into witness protection.
No clue. Yeah, no clue. Yeah, of course that's like the that was more much more explored in The Sopranos.
Absolutely.
Hell of a family man, that guy. These guys, but yeah. I think that we're coming up on the caboose. I think, but yeah, this is a great. I severely doubt our subscribers haven't seen this, but if you haven't, you need to go run to see it as soon as possible, because you will have a good time. And it's not overly gratuitous either. I mean, there's definitely violence, but it's not like it's not that kind of movie. It pulls you in on the emotional draw, and that fourth wall, so to speak, experience that you have.
And it was going to be called Wise Guy, but there was a TV show at the time called Wise Guy, and another movie coming out that was called Wise Guys, with Danny DeVito and Joe Piscopo. So they went with Goodfellas, and I think Goodfellas has a nice ring to it. I think it works best for this. It seems like all the things that were obstacles turn out to be beneficial in the end for this movie.
It's very true. Yeah, although I would say if it had been called, Wise Guy or Wise Guys, whatever, it would have, we would be. I don't think there would be any supplanting what it is. But yeah, Goodfellas turned out way better anyway.
Me being a wise guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I need to do that more. I need to be more creative with that. But yeah, I was gonna say, if you like what you've heard, give us a subscribe if you like it. If you don't like what we have to say, give us a downvote. That's fine too. Engage and tell us what you think. What's your favorite movie? What movie would you have picked?
Yeah, as Picard says, engage, engage with us.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's give us a like, subscribe, ring that bell for notification if you're already subscribed, because sometimes YouTube doesn't like to tell you when we have a new video out, and that notification
Yeah.
will let you know. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And you can.
mhm.
Yeah, and if we have a published event, you can hit notify me, and it'll definitely notify you. I'll do that quite a bit to catch our
Yeah,
show after the
yeah.
fact. But yeah, we hit the 1, 2, 3 on the videos. This course will be 124. But it doesn't seem like that, like all that at all.
Yeah, yeah. And later in the week, we'll have our grab bag, which we'll get back to all of our nerdy stuff. We're going to spotlight Free Comic Book Day, which is going to be this coming Saturday. In your go to your local comic book shop. If it's you may
Yep.
want to call ahead to make sure your comic book shop celebrates Free Comic Book Day, because not all of them do. But yeah, we're going to go over all the free comic books that you could pick from for free comic books. They're not all going to be free. There's certain ones that are free. So we'll go over that in our grab bag, along with all the new news and exciting reviews that we can give you. So yeah, if you haven't checked out the grab bag yet, definitely give that a watch as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I think about 10 years ago, when was doing that more, the comic book day. At one point, they allowed you to. There was a lot more wider titles that you
Mm-hmm.
could pick from than
Mm-hmm.
just select sponsored ones that they're like, here you
Mm-hmm.
go. But it
Yeah.
used to be a little bit more open. But anything to step into a new storyline, and whether that's in the pages of a comic book, a movie, a TV show. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And I think we're good. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said, just give us a like if you like what you see. Always encourage folks to take a look at our back catalog, because we
Mm-hmm.
definitely have brought cut lines across all genres and
Mm-hmm.
and joined up on there. But with that being said, I've been Mike.
And I'm Thomas. Watch out, you might get whacked.